All right, I'm back with another video. This is David with Martin Sports Lab, and today we're going to be talking about the LeBron GOAT conversation. Is LeBron the GOAT? Let's get into it. All right, so we have this conversation all the time about we, as in the fans, media. We have this conversation about, is LeBron the GOAT? Um, is he? Has he surpassed Michael Jordan? All of that kind of talk. We've had that conversation for many years. Probably started when Michael Jordan, when he started his career. I think people started talking about it during his career. Who's the greatest of all time? And obviously, because Michael was so great, um, that's kind of what began that conversation. And so I look at it this way. Um, I love what Michael Jordan said in his interview, um, when he talked about GOAT shouldn't be talked about. And I agree, because it really discredit a lot of those basketball players who came before Michael, who played during Michael's time, after Michael's time. We begin to discredit and really water down the greatness of a lot of players that played before and after Michael. And so I just, to me, it just it it should be a situation where we just genuinely appreciate NBA players, the players who play it at that high of a level. We should just be able to just appreciate what they have brought. Those in different eras who played at a very high level. We should just appreciate each and every player at their positions. I think it'd be fine if we wanted to talk about, as fans, as analysts, commentators, even, if they want to just talk about top five, top 10 point guards, top 10 shooting guards, power forwards, that type of thing. Small forward, power forward, centers, that type of thing. If we wanted to just get us a list of 5 or 10 and be able to have fun conversations, that's fine. But anytime that I've ever seen anyone talk about the greatest of all time, it is a conversation that gets heated and off track, and it just, we have to put someone else down in order to lift someone else up. In order to put Kobe past LeBron, we have to put LeBron down in a way. In order to put LeBron past Kobe, we have to kind of put Kobe down. And it's like, if we're fans of the game and we watch Kobe play, and those who were old enough to watch Michael Jordan play, you can just appreciate what you've seen when that person played. Michael Jordan didn't have great games all the time. Kobe didn't have great games. LeBron didn't have great games all the time, but you can appreciate what that player brought. Um, we I think when we isolate the conversation and just talk about the GOAT, we forget that there was Wilt Chamberlain, that there was Julius Erving, Larry Bird, um, Moses Malone, a lot of those players back in the day. Then you had Magic Johnson and so many other great players that don't get talked about. And so I think the conversation of GOAT, it shouldn't be a conversation. We should just talk about great players and great players in those eras. That way we can include a lot of those players in the conversation that had a very big impact on the game. And so, um, even today, we look at LeBron and what he's accomplished. We have to, those who are big LeBron fans, they have to kind of water down Kobe's legacy. in order to put him past Kobe. And those who are Kobe fans, we have to water down and throw salt on LeBron's legacy in order to push Kobe forward. And to me, it just, why can't we just appreciate players from different eras and the time that they played in their prime and appreciate all those guys and what they brought? The Allen Iversons, there, you name it. There's so many great players that's come across the league that has brought so much to the game. That's changed culture. Tracy McGrady, um, Dirk Nowitzki. You've got Steve Nash, John Stockton. It's just so many great players that has come across. Scottie Pippen, right? There's so many players that we can sit and have conversations, healthy conversations, beautiful conversations, where we are just lifting the name of those guys up and just like, man, hey, can you imagine this game, what he did in this game? Can you imagine, those kind of conversations, healthy and fun conversations. Now, when we talk about greats, it often leads to frustration, anger, hostile conversations that are just not beneficial to anyone, to the conversation or to the player. And so that's just it's sad that that's what we see in media, that people just want to see arguments about who the greatest of all time is. And I love what Michael Jordan said, and I wanted to play that clip so that we can just be reminded. This video, not a lot of people talk about this video. When we bring up the GOAT conversation, the GOAT that we consider majority of the people that have this GOAT mentality, we don't reference the actual person that's talking about greatest of all time. It'd be different if Michael Jordan was like crowning himself king and the greatest of all time, as we've seen LeBron kind of hint at, and be different if that was the case. But Jordan is the opposite. He's like, man, I don't even think about goats and all of that, because he pays respect to the players, athletes before him, and he's humble towards that. And I think that's the best way to be, because we acknowledge what that person did before us, who we learned from. Same thing with Kobe, same thing with LeBron, and on and on and on. You have people that learn from the previous generation to get better. And so I love what Michael Jordan says. So I want to play that clip so that we can actually just see and talk about what he brought up.
Thing that's never changed with sports fans is the debate about the GOAT. Who's the greatest of all time? So it's rare that I get a chance to sit down with one of the guys who's debated about to talk about the conversation of that term, the GOAT.
The whole GOAT term is never going to be something that I ever will get high or low about. It just doesn't exist with me. I never played against Oscar Roberts or Jerry West. Would have loved to. Absolutely love to. Just as competitive as I am. And I actually learned from them, and we, paved the road to the Kobe's. And
I like what he just said, that he would have loved to play from not just from a competitive standpoint, but he would love to have played with them, to have learned from them. And he's humble enough to say that. And not to say that LeBron or, he's not humble or anything like that. He's young and he's still playing and he's competitive. He's got to have a mindset that, man, I'm here to take over. He's got to have that killer mindset. And I think as he gets older, we'll hear him kind of speak more to having that respect for the Kobe, the Michael Jordan, and all those other players even that's come before him, Magic and all these players that he's been able to pattern his game after. And so right now, I think, we just really don't hear much from him. It's mainly just media that does a lot of talking. But the things that he has said about GOAT conversation and all that, is kind of distasteful in my opinion. But I love what Michael Jordan just said there about paying the respect towards the people that's come before him.
LeBron's, right? And to me, it's It's the beauty of the game of basketball that a player, after a previous player, has evolved the game further. But don't then, in essence, this is where I look at it. Don't then now use that against the player that actually taught you the game or that you learned from. And that's why I have a tough time. And look, I would love to have played against LeBron and Kobe in my prime. I would love to have played against those guys. But we'll never be able to know that. Part of the marketing, part of the hype, part of the things that tries to elevate one generation above the other, I think it creates animosity. I have no animosity against today.
What he just said there, the animosity, it absolutely does that. Because if Kobe was still living and you got all these people, even when Kobe was alive, he talked about switching teams and different things and building a super team and all that kind of stuff to be competitive. But again, I think that it does create that animosity towards each other, and it really shouldn't be that way. The competition enough for players is there. And so to add that and exclude players from being talked about for years to come is my beef with it. We've got so many players that, that we really don't talk about because the GOAT conversation is kind of leading, but we don't hear many conversations about the greatest point guards, shooting guards, and just have those conversations where we talk about the top 5 and the top 10 on each position and have those fantasy talks. Man, if I had this guy on my team, you don't really see that much when it comes to that. It's either the GOAT conversation or we're just talking about current events that's in sports, like the NBA or whatever. That's kind of what that's kind of the range of what we see talked about. And so I do think I do agree with him.
These players. But you do have certain players that do have animosity because of the forgottenness of what their contribution has been to the game of basketball. It is what it is. It is a empty comparison. It's absolutely never find that the true answer to that question.
It's a circular conversation.
It's just going to keep
You're
going.
never going to get
and
the right
I understand.
answer. But it's great to talk about.
100% to talk about and envision. Look, I think LeBron has had an unbelievable career, and I admire him for what he's done, and Kobe as well as KD and all these guys who have played in this era. I think they've elevated the game of basketball tremendously. I just don't agree when you start, trying to put one above the other. It doesn't work. We'll never know. It creates more of a problem from, not for me. I've never given it credence. But, for other players who look for their existence within the generation of basketball, and we should always honor that. We should always preserve that. We should always, reward.
So I'll stop it there. But when we look at, where we are now, where you have players that, like LeBron, who will go to a team that's, he'll go to different teams that's got really good players. That's one thing I just really loved about Kobe and Michael and Dirk Nowitzki. Some of these players who've just stayed with one team and said, hey, we're going to stay here and figure it out. We're going to stay here and figure it out and go that route. I've always admired that part. But when we look at LeBron's career and we see that, there's, he's going team to team, obviously. And then, you got 2 or 3 other players that are really great players in his time to create this team to go win a championship. To me, that is, it's special because LeBron, if they didn't have LeBron there, they wouldn't win anyway. So obviously it speaks to his greatness, but it also takes away from his greatness as well, because if he had have just stayed in Cleveland and toughed it out, there and won 4 or 5 championships, I think it would have meant more than, hopping team to team and building and really surrounded himself with other great players so that they can win. I think it would have meant more for him to just stay in Cleveland and do it there. Even if he had a won two championships or three or whatever, to me that's more. To me, that says more about his character. Now, again, he's still great because again, you have to be able to be great to go from team to team and win championships. So I think he is one of the greatest of all times to do it. But I think that if we're going to use the greatest of all time, I think we it should be different era time periods where we talk about, okay, Bill Russell, then you got Will Chamberlain, then you've got Michael Jordan, different thing, Kobe Bryant or whatever, and then you kind of go down from eras if you want to have that conversation. In my opinion, it shouldn't just be one greatest of all time over everything, over the entire NBA. There's one GOAT that we talk about. We should appreciate everything that these guys did in their time that they played. And so that's my deal with LeBron. I think that he has done great things. I think that he is, in my opinion, if we want to use GOAT, he is one of the GOATs. The things that he's done, multiple championships. He's got great numbers. He's really high IQ. The things that he's done off the court, which is with his shoe deals and the schools and all that, he's definitely going to go down as one of the guys that we talk about forever. That's talked about, I'll say, forever. So, is LeBron the GOAT? I would say keep it in perspective. Let's talk about eras, and say that, hey, yeah, maybe he's a GOAT of this time period, and from this time to this time in his prime, he is the GOAT. And then prior to that, you've got Kobe, and prior to that, you've got Michael, and then prior to that, you've got, whoever that is. But that's the mindset that I would think Julius Erving or Wilt Chamberlain or Bill Russell, whatever you call it. But I just would consider it that way. And I wish the media and the people, the fans and all of that, the people that talk about NBA would push back a little bit more on the GOAT conversation and just have a healthy conversation when it comes to appreciating the NBA, appreciating all of the players that's played in the NBA, so that we can make sure everybody gets their credit for what they brought to this beautiful league that we have been able to enjoy for many, many years. It's given so many people jobs. You look at all the people that talk about the sports, all of YouTubers now, commentators, all of the people. Like, this sport alone has brought so many job opportunities, careers to all of us. And so that's my take on it. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree with my take on it. I appreciate you watching. Thank you for subscribing, commenting, liking the video. We'll see you next time. Peace.